Welcome into the I-80 boys. We're talking Rutgers at Nebraska. Christian, I'm going to get started with Rutgers. I'll kick it over to you in a minute for Nebraska. Got some stats for you guys here. Obviously, we know Rutgers is 4-0 on the season, so a good start to the season there. They've beaten Howard, Akron, a pretty decent, I think, decent Virginia Tech team week 3. And then last weekend, man, they beat Washington in a close one. But as far as offensively with Rutgers, and I've watched a couple of Rutgers football games this year, Christian, they're averaging actually surprisingly 35 points per game. That's 36 in the country. They're 48th in total offense. They are 12th in the nation in rushing offense. So these guys like the ground and pound. We talk about it. The Greek Rifle, the transfer over from Minnesota to Rutgers. He's 59 of 96, 61% completion percentage, 761 yards, 7 touchdowns, and 1 INT. So he's really efficient. Now, I've watched him play quite a bit of quarterback. Obviously, I said he played at Minnesota last season. He doesn't push the ball down the field a ton, but he really doesn't have to when you got the man at running back. If you guys haven't watched this kid play, Kyle Monangai, this dude is a stud, man. He's got 97 carries on the year, 589 yards. That's 6.1 yards per carry, by the way. He's got 6 touchdowns. He's fifth in the nation in rushing right now currently. And his backup, Samuel Brown, this guy's no joke either. He's got 33 carries, 172 yards, and 3 TDs as well. So, Rutgers is going to like to run the football. As far as the wide receivers go, they got one standout, they got 2 guys. Very good guys. They can go up and get the ball, physical, not uber fast, but Demir Miller and Ian Strong. These guys both have 27 catches between them for over 400 yards on the season as well. So like I said, very physical receivers. Rutgers doesn't really stretch the field a ton, like I said, but they don't have to. On the defensive side of the ball, they've been pretty stout as well, Christian. They're only giving up 16.2 points per game. That's 29th in the nation. They're 69th in total defense. And here's a problem right here. They're 98th in the country against the run. They're very good against the pass, not so great against the run. If you guys watched the Washington-Rutgers game last week, I think his name is it Jonah Coleman, the running back for Washington? He had 150 yards in that game. Gashed him up pretty bad back there. So, one thing I will say about the defense as well, they've really struggled to get to the quarterback. That could be a good thing for Dylan Raiola in Nebraska here. They only got 4 sacks this season, which is like bottom 15 in the country. So, with that being said, like I said, into this game, Christian, I'll kick it over to you for Nebraska, I guess, here, and then we'll talk a little bit after that.
Yeah, Chris, I mean, like you said, Nebraska, I mean, they've yet to put a full game together this year, and I mean, they're going to need to do that, right, going up against an undefeated Rutgers team. I thought Nebraska last week against Purdue had a down game, to say the least. I mean, Purdue, we already know, is one of the worst teams probably in the Big Ten this year. What I see when I think about Rutgers is, I mean, it's a less sexy version of Illinois, right? I mean, it's just Illinois gets all this glitz and glamour, I feel like, comparatively, and they're a less sexier version than Penn State. So it just kind of trickles downhill here, right, a little bit. To me, some of the biggest issues that I saw getting back to Nebraska in the last game was not being able to kick a field goal or just kick in general, and costly penalties, right? Nebraska's committed 21 penalties in the last 2 games, ranked 120th in the country in penalties committed. They're going to have to clean that up. Now, Dylan Raiola, he's been the biggest bright spot for this team this year. Like, you look at his stats, he's already put up 1,200 yards and 9 touchdowns, 70% completion percentage. Guy is slinging it back there. His biggest targets this year have been Isaiah Nayer and Jamal Banks, combined for 6 touchdowns, 550 yards. They're balling out. The run game, it's been okay, right? It's not been what you're used to seeing in years past where it has to carry this team or anything like that. The lead back for them has been Dante Dowdell. 277 yards, 4 touchdowns. Dude's looked pretty good for you guys back there. He's been the biggest running back that you guys have had this season. Look, I look for Nebraska to try and establish more of a run game in this one against a Rutgers defense. Like you said, that gives up 172 rushing yards a game. On defense, I think Nebraska is going to have to shut down the Rutgers rushing attack. You talked about it, right? Monangai is a really, really good running back there. And then the Greek Rifle himself, they played him last year when he was at Minnesota. I thought if you can shut down Monangai and you can limit Kaliak Manis and make him beat you, you got a shot in this one. So with that being said, I'll get into it. I'll give you my score prediction. Chris, I've got Rutgers 21, Nebraska 28.
Nice. Yeah, no, I'm with you here, and I agree wholeheartedly with what you said so far, and pretty much even your prediction, to be completely honest. I mean, Rutgers wants to control the clock in this one, right? They're going to be playing at Memorial Field. It's going to be loud there. It's a night game, if I'm not mistaken. If they can do that, Rutgers can win this football game. Like you said, I've said it all season. Rutgers is a less sexy version of Illinois, or maybe even an Iowa, to be completely honest with you, with a little bit better offense, like I said, so Nebraska is going to have to control that run game, and vice versa. Nebraska needs to be able to run the football. You mentioned it against Purdue. Nebraska struggled running the football this year. I know they're like in the hundreds in rushing offense, which is surprising from last year. But this game's going to be won in the trenches on the front lines. So I have Rutgers 21, Nebraska 24.